All right, here we are on May the 20th, 2017, with another Zoom live event. And we have very special guest, Scott, with us. Um, Very interesting. Scott, you, uh, you, I didn't know much about you, but over the time that you've been on the cleanse, you're starting to posting, and we got to know you a little more and more with your background. But maybe you want to go over your lifestyle, what you basically how you lived, and then your type of diet, and did you change your diet, and what other things you tried before you decided to jump in this master fast thing. How did you hear about master fast, so on and so forth? You want to tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe?
Sure. Okay. So, I grew up in the United States. So, typical family situation, um, typical American diet. The thing that's interesting is, I grew up mainly in the 80s when food production really started to kick in strong in the United States. So it seemed like during that time, there was always some kind of new sugar cereal or some, like, I don't know, some kind of processed food that, was always coming out. And of course, not that it was anything new, but they started advertising more towards children during that time. So as a kid, you see all these cool like cartoons and whatnot on the screen, and so I just a really heavily processed diet. And I know I've mentioned this on a call before, but the thing that got me were stimulating foods, especially caffeine and sugar. That was my real vice. In high school, it started as early as high school. I just really loved Mountain Dew, caffeinated soda. By the time I got to college, I was drinking about 2 44-ounce Mountain Dews a day, consistently. It didn't matter.
Two of them a day.
2 of them a day. So just so you know, a quart in U.S. measurement is 32 ounces.
Yep.
So I mean, that has to be. I don't think it's quite a gallon, but it's up there. Okay.
A gallon is about 128 ounces, right?
Yeah.
So you're getting close.
I was close. Okay. And then, so
That's a lot of mountain.
you can imagine that didn't do any favors to my kidneys or adrenals. And then, believe it or not, eventually that started wearing off. Like it just didn't have an effect. So I graduated myself to energy drinks.
In what sense didn't have an effect?
I just wouldn't feel stimulated by them any longer. So I thought Monsters and Red Bull, well, not so much Red Bull, but the Sobe No Fears. I mean, just all sorts of energy drinks. I just fell in love with those. And, for some reason, I just couldn't sleep anymore. I mean, I don't know why, but, excuse me here just a second.
Bless you.
Sorry about that. Anyways, the energy drinks also were pretty intense on my body. I have to say, I unfortunately didn't, like with everything food related, it was never just one. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going on a road trip, so let's just have an energy drink for a pick me up. It was more like, oh, I would wake up in the morning and go to the gas station, get 2 energy drinks. And that's how I started my day every single day.
Wow. Wait, how long ago did you start drinking the energy drinks?
Well, I think I probably started in when they first came out. So probably, what was that, like 2000, 2001?
Yeah,
It's early 2000s.
Wow.
And so, I continued that streak until like 2007. And, let me just say, those energy drinks are no joke. It took me not a year, about 2.5 years to not crave them.
Wow.
So, I mean, once you mess with your adrenals and your energy system in your body to a severe point, it could take a while to come back from there. I guess the only other thing I want to say previous to doing Master Fast and kind of some of this stuff was, you know, I literally thought the gas station was the place to buy food. Okay. Like,
Oh my God.
chili dogs, you know, chips, spicy chips.
Yeah.
This is how I live. This is the
Well,
diet I had.
you know, just want to make a little comment about, you know, these corporations are putting out these drinks and these foods, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of people don't know this, but they put a lot of time and energy into making them addictive. Just like the cigarette company,
Right.
and everything else. So, you know, some people are not aware of this, but once you start going on a path to try and get off them, you'll be well aware that, wow, why can't I get off these things?
Well, and that's actually kind of an excellent just kind of segue. So in 2000, I think 7 or 8, Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead came out with Joe Cross and Joe the Juicer.
Yeah, nice.
I remember, what was that guy's one of the juicing guys' names from like the mid 90s and stuff. He, you know, kind of had those big bushy eyebrows and
Jay Cornish.
Yeah. I remember watching his commercials too, and juicing had always been something of interest to me. So when I just saw Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, and literally you can see from my before picture on Facebook, you know, Joe Cross said it looks like he swallowed a sheep. I was in that same boat. Okay, there was a small baby sheep inside of my stomach.
I was shocked when you sent the photos. I go, I had no idea, right?
Well, and to be fair, I mean, that first photo, I was sticking out my stomach a little bit. But I mean, I showed my wife the other day, I'm like, just so you know, here's me sticking out my stomach and there's no movement. And she's like, stop. No, I want you to stick it out for real. And I'm like, I am. I can't push it out any further, you know?
Yeah.
But so after watching Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, I bought a juicer. I got a vegetable juice box or vegetables and fruit delivered to my doorstep once a week. And just started kind of playing around with it, trying to change my diet. And
what year was this? Sorry,
2007, 2008.
Okay, so it's been a while. Okay.
And I can't tell you. I mean, like sometimes when I hear people on the board and they're just like, "Oh my goodness, I have such strong food addictions." I mean, I could totally. Well, we all probably can relate, right? I mean,
we're all addicted, Scott. I don't think there's anybody that's not.
Right. Breaking away from food, I can't even really explain it really. I mean, it's almost as bad as light trying to escape a black hole, literally. It's dang near impossible. Honestly, you have to have so much resolve. So this started kind of the yo-yo phase is what I want to say. Mm-hmm. For a while, I would juice. I would do a juice fast. And then I was determined I want to go to at the time I thought like a whole food, plant-based diet was the way to go. And I even went to see an Ayurvedic doctor to kind of help me do some transitioning to more whole foods and plant-based foods. And I literally could not do it. I could not break away from eating poorly. As soon as I put food in my mouth, I would just crave all the bad stuff.
Well, yeah, that's a challenge.
And so this became a really frustrating cycle for me. Like and during this time, my medical conditions, which I'll talk about later, didn't really improve that much.
What type of juice fast did you do, and how long for the different types of juice fasts?
Well, so I just did fresh pressed vegetable juices from my juicer, all sorts. I mean, at first I was just making stuff up. Sometimes the juices were so horrible I'd have to plug my nose to chug them. But, you know, after a while you kind of get this down. I mean, I would try to include what I would say, you know, like the balanced juice,
right? You
know, something like citrus, so lemon or limes, some greens, and then maybe a couple other vegetables, maybe like a beet, you know, and then some other fruits just to kind of round off the flavor. And once I kind of got more experience at juicing, that's kind of the route I took. So it was more green juices, but
And how
You know,
much would you typically drink in a day, approximately?
um, anywhere from like 32 ounces to a gallon.
Wow. Okay.
And my longest juice fast, I believe, was around 50 days.
And you had some improvements, I'm sure. I'm sure you had.
Yeah, no, actually, juicing was great. I mean, this was the first time that the pain in my body had reduced. A
Mhm.
lot of the inflammation and edema went down in my body, the swelling. Um, I started to sleep a little better. My acid reflux, which had been bothering me for a really long time, had gone down. So this was honestly, that was the cue that was like, oh, okay, there is at least something here. Fasting or eating at least more vegetables and fruits, there's something to this, and this is kind of what planted the seed, so to speak. um Later on, I got to know the guy in Costa Rica, is Lockman, is that his name?
Water
Yeah,
fast.
Lauren Lockman, yeah. And just started watching a bunch of his YouTube videos, and I started reading books on water fasting, and what is it, Goldhammer or Goldheimer, who does a
In
clinic in,
California, yeah.
yeah, and so I watched some of his YouTube videos, and they were starting to talk about all the things they had reversed with water fasting. And but just briefly, I suffered from neuropathy, which is nerve damage essentially, and nobody ever talked about neurological systems until I met Dr. Morse. Dr. Morse was the first person that I met was like, this dude had MS, and now they still have some symptoms, but they're walking around. And I was like, oh, so here's finally a system that could do it. Um, but
When
so I
when
did a
did,
water fast.
when
Oh,
did
go ahead.
when did the neurological stuff start happening?
Oh, the neurological stuff started happening about 2005.
Oh, so it's been quite a while.
It has been, and it really has been deep seated into my feet and legs for quite a long time. But yeah, that's when it started. But so after I read Lauren Lockman's side, I was just like, of course he advertises going to a retreat, and I started looking at the prices of doing that, and frankly, at the time, it was just too much money. I mean, I mean, to fly down to Costa Rica was going to be I don't know, a couple $1,000s or $1,000, whatever it was, and then to stay there was going to be at least another couple $1,000s, and then I'd have to take time off of work. At the time, I was working as a contractor. I didn't have any vacation time, and with 3 kids and everything, doing a extended stay fast like that was really, I mean, it really wasn't in the cards. So even though everybody says, oh my goodness, you have to have doctor supervision, I kept on watching everybody. I'm just like, well, all these people have done water fasts, and what's the worst thing that can happen? I will put 911 into my phone, and somebody's going to have to pick me up and take me to the hospital.
I like the way you think. That's the way I think.
So I did a 25-day water fast.
On your own.
And on my own, without supervision. I mean, just to be safe. I mean, just for people, if I know this is going on YouTube, I don't recommend this to anyone. I made the personal choice. I thought this was right for me. It felt right for me, and I did it. If it doesn't feel right to you, then don't do it. That's all I've got to say.
Were you working?
Yeah, I was working. I worked the whole time, and so the first, let's see, that 25 days. Well, now compared to 108, that seems like a drop in the bucket. But the first week or so, I'm not gonna lie, was living hell. I mean, it was like my body went from that first few days where you're just separating from food, and then when your body finally kicks over and decides, well, I guess this crazy person really is not giving me any fat, sugars, anything, so we've got to do something about it. That time that can take anywhere from 7 to 15 days.
Now,
And I remember for me, it was longer than 7. It was more like 15. It took a while.
so doing this water fast, that's all you were doing, nothing else, no enemas, no nothing, right? Just drinking water.
Just drinking water, right? I mean, I had heard of enemas before. I actually read the Gershon therapy. I tried that for a little bit, but it was too complex and so much stuff to do. I just didn't have time to do it. And I'm not knocking the system. I mean, all these systems have done a lot of good for people. Okay, so that's not the point. it wasn't working for me in the way I needed it to.
We've learned from all these people in the past, and this is where we put it all together and learn the best from everybody, and we try to improve everything we can with the mix from all the benefits from everything we've learned.
Right. So this is the crazy thing at the end of my water fast, and this is why I ended my water fast, because this was really I would say the juice fasting, that's kind of one level, but I would say that's probably the easiest fast. Or fruit fasting too. Those are pretty easy, gentle. When I consider gentle, those are gentle cleanses. About day 20, when I would go to bed at night, I had this overwhelming feeling like I'm going to die when I sleep. I'm not going to wake up. And I was just like, God, this is such a weird, and it was dark. I'm not going to lie. It was a dark feeling. And after 3 days of this, I looked at my wife and I'm just like, honey, every time I go to sleep, I just feel like I'm not going to wake up. I'm going to die.
Wow.
And of course, that's exactly what your wife wants to hear. Right. And bless her soul, she has been such a great support. I mean, literally she has.
Awesome.
And so that's at day 25, I couldn't shake this feeling. And I was almost kind of like, I feel like my body is trying to tell me something, and I don't know exactly what that is, but just because I'm such a newbie at fasting, I'm not going to push this one. I didn't have support of a Facebook page, for one thing. There was nobody I could go say, hey, this is what's going on with me. And I'm not trying to be like offensive to Lauren Lockman and what he's doing, but that water fasting page, if you're kind of a newbie at stuff, people think we're brutal on master. It's nothing, man. I mean, I posted something about drinking salt water essentially to try to do a saltwater flush. Oh my God. People were like, this kind of comment should not be allowed on this post, and they raked me over the coals, like up and down. And I was like, wow, I didn't really care because I wanted to know.
Yeah.
But I was just like, you guys just beat people up.
Did you have any bowel movements in the water fast?
No, after like 7 days, everything stopped. Nothing.
How much water were you drinking daily?
I was actually probably drinking about 2 liters, I would say, 64 ounces.
Did you have to force yourself to drink, or was your body wanting it?
After a while, I just sipped on it. It was just kind of like, it was part of the process. So that's what I was doing. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't like I wanted to sit here and chug like a big thing of ice water either. It was just more like, I'm just drinking the water to get hydrated,
Yeah.
to keep things doing whatever they're supposed to do, so I didn't die, so to speak. But yeah. But the thing is, the other thing I'll say about the water fast is, it prepared me to do this fast. And the funny thing is like, I don't regret doing it. And it was a stepping stone for me. But about day 17 or so, all the tingling in my nerves and my feet just came back. And it didn't let up. It was almost like whatever was going on, either my body was focused on healing something else, or it was just coming to a standstill.
So what do you mean? It went away and then it came back? Is that?
It started going down. Yeah. And then it came back. So it was kind of odd for me. I mean, and so that too, because my feet were still bothering me.
So the issue you're having was neurological through your legs and your feet mainly?
Right. So I guess this would be a good time to describe it. So essentially, we grew up with a really good podiatrist, foot doctor, in Spokane, Washington, where I grew up. He's like one of the best in Spokane. And I asked him, at the time I was living in a different city. I'm like, hey, do you know anybody here that can help me with my foot? It just hurts all the time. And so he recommended me a doctor, and I went and saw him, and he goes, well, you have what's called a Morton's neuroma, which is just a fancy way of saying you have an inflamed nerve in your foot. It's in between your second and third toe usually. And so, of course, I'm kind of a curious person just by nature. I read a whole bunch of things. People have done, sometimes what people do for health is just like incredible to me. And what people write about health too is even more incredible. But, so it just kind of started as like this dull aching nerve in my foot.
What year? What year was that?
This was about 2005.
Okay.
And it would come and go at first. I could tell it was swollen, it was aggravated, but then what happened is it kind of went from this state of coming and going to throbbing constantly. Even if I slept, when I would wake up, I guess the pain would be gone for a few hours, but it would definitely come back every single day. And then from there, my foot started cramping. Yeah. So it would be this throbbing pain with cramps. And I mean, literally, like, my foot got rigid. And then because I think just as a natural progression, you know, your nervous system does require chemicals to function. And so after a while, once you burn up all the whatever is going on down there and your body feels constant pain, it takes further action so that you don't have to deal with it as much. And that's when the numbness and tingling came in. I mean, the numbness and tingling was just an effect of, look, dude, we don't want you to feel that much pain. But
was it on the water fast?
No, this is pre-water fast.
Pre-water fast, okay.
And I actually had this while I was juicing too. And the juice fast helped it. The water fast helped it too. But then it went into restless leg. I would be sleeping, and every once in a while I'd wake up because my leg would give me a little zinger. I call them zingers because sometimes it's like, you know, the nerve signal, I could almost feel it go down my leg. It would start somewhere like in my lower calf, and you could feel this nerve go down. I'm like, oh, here it comes. And then by the time it got to my toes would just curl up in pain and just be like, it was painful, and it would wake me up. And literally it got to the point where walking around was just uncomfortable, unbearable. My nervous system became a wreck. Even certain types of lighting, noises, anything auditory, light, if I was in it, would start giving me pain in my body. And it got to the point, I'm not even going to lie, about a year and a half ago, where I just looked at my wife, Adina. I was like, honey, I know this is probably kind of traumatic for you to hear, but I don't want to live anymore.
Wow.
I'm tired. This pain just has affected me in my daily life so much that I would rather die. I'd rather die than keep going this way, because I can't run. I used to love to run. I was in track and field in high school. I was in cross country. I ran through college. I used to ride my mountain bike. I couldn't wear shoes or socks. It felt like every time I put socks on, it felt like I was putting my foot into an Iron Maiden. But I have 3 kids, and I know especially moms can relate to this. But once you have kids, I mean, life kind of changes. And I was like, well, I'm their dad, and I don't care if I feel like I don't care if I feel like dying, but my kids aren't even married yet. They're just starting. My oldest can graduate from high school this year. And so they're just going to start adulthood, really. And I was like, even though I feel like dying, I can't just freaking go find a doctor to take my life. That's not going to work. And so I knew diet was still the key. I knew that herbs and diet was the key. And this goes back to Dr. Morse. I read his whole book, the one on herbs and healing. And when I read it, it was really awesome. I just thought, holy cow, this guy's crazy. He just eats fruit. What kind of person just eats fruit? That seems nuts. You're just going to live in the forest and eat oranges for a year? I mean, that's freaking insane. It didn't even occur, and then of course, in his healing book, he discusses, I don't know, many herbs, many different herbs. By the time I was done reading it, it was all great information, but I was completely overwhelmed. I was like, well, I don't know what the heck to do with all this.
What year was that when you found his stuff?
Probably around 2012.
Oh, it's been a while. Okay.
And then I just started watching YouTube videos insatiably. And that's when I watched. And so after doing the juice fast, after doing the water fast, Like I said, I was still in the yo-yo time, up and down. I do the water fast. And then what was crazy, let me just tell you about breaking the water fast. Okay. And this is really the reason why I was so nervous about breaking my fast. And I'll talk about that later on in the call. But, after reading some stories about people who had eaten bread and potatoes and this, that, and the other, and gotten it lodged in their bowels, and then either having to have surgery or even dying, I was like, okay, I'm not going to mess around. I'm going to at least make sure that a few days of fruit, which after a 25-day fast, a few days was pretty minimal. I should have done it for a lot longer than just a few days. I'm just going to eat regular food. Well, I went to Safeway or whatever, the grocery store, and bought myself like a plastic cup filled with fresh cut fruit. And I put one in my mouth. I was not even prepared for that at all. Like, there's nothing you can do to really prepare your mind for that. But I'm sure it's like a crack addict getting a crack dosage, because my brain and body lit up in a way that I swear it never had in my whole entire life. It was just like, this is just food, right? I mean, it's just a piece of honeydew, but why do I feel so like, it's like adrenaline, endorphins, every positive thing that could have happened chemically in my body happened all at once. Mm-hmm. And then, so then I'm sitting here eating that. Luckily, I just got a small thing and we were on the road, so I couldn't eat anymore. Thank goodness, because I wouldn't have stopped. And then the ravenous phase hooked in. And I really literally mean this by when I say ravenous. I was like, oh man, I just really want to eat. And sometimes I would eat a full meal, and then 30 minutes later, I would eat another full meal. Mm-hmm. It was like a hunger that I had never experienced before. And my body was wanting to process it. That was the crazy thing. The physicality of it was, I'm eating a full meal, and then I go eat another full meal, and I would be feeling fine. And I was like, okay, this is really weird. So clearly after the water fast, I yo-yoed back to just my traditional bad diet. Was not prepared really for the pull back to my addictive foods. And this is when I began to realize, after doing the water fast, because I'd done it for 25 days, the 21-day habit thing in my mind was out the damn window. Okay. I'm sure that could help some people, but there was something, I was missing a component, and I didn't know what that was. And honestly, when I started the master fast, I was missing a component and didn't know what that was. So one day I was watching YouTube, and Dana Stewart with her mucoid plaque video, I watched it, and she's like, hey, I'm day so-and-so on master fast, and I've been doing all these herbs. And when she said herbs, I was like, oh my God, there's a fasting system with herbs. And that just immediately triggered the Dr. Morse thing. I'd always been fascinated by herbs once I read about them. I just didn't really know what to do or how to take them, and so forth. And that's really how I found Master Fast, was Dana's video. Mm-hmm. And so, I know everybody kind of comes to Master Fast with different expectations, but when I read the protocol the first time, I knew I was going to do it. I knew immediately, okay, I'm going to do this no matter what. It was just a matter of kind of prepping for it and getting ready. This is the things that impressed me at first with Master Fast. Okay. First off, we had a whole page. And at the time, I mean, I don't think there was even 5,000 people there. That was 108 days. That was 118 days ago, Gino. There was just 3,000 people or less, right? I'm just like blown away. That's been exponential growth. But it wasn't just, here, drink this grape juice, or here's some weird crystals, wave them over your body, or, not saying, I'm not trying to knock any of this stuff. I'm just saying other systems are not as comprehensive. I mean, you think about it, you got burnt stick massage, castor oil packs, you got breathing, you've got herbal support, you've got the juices, you've got an admin team at the time that are just, they're watching over you. And I didn't know how closely really you guys watched over people. I just thought, as far as I knew, you just kind of made a couple posts and then you were out on the golf course or something, or whatever, so to speak,
I spent way too much time on the computer.
No, right, exactly. And so I just was like, okay, so this dude, Gino, whoever this is, I mean, it sounds like he really thought this through. And so then, Gino, I started watching some of your videos and learning about your story, how this was a 26-year process for you, how you went the raw food route. You went all these different places. You burnt out your kidneys. I was really kind of fascinated by that. I'm sure it wasn't very comfortable. And but what fascinated me by it was, here's the guy that really jacked himself up trying to do this, but he continued on, even though it caused, I believe it caused you some neurological problems as well, right? You were talking about numbness on your right side, I believe, all this stuff. And I'm like, well, this guy doesn't stop. I mean, as soon as he comes up with a health problem, he finds the information, somehow it's drawn to him. And that was the component I was missing. And I'll talk about that a little later. But I was like, the master fast system is much more than just going without food. It transitions you to do a lot of things. And so the thing that really freaked me out, I'm not going to lie, about master fast was, honestly, I had some bad religious experiences in my past. I'm not going to lie, the group did seem a little cultish at first, but that was I own that. That was my own fears coming out. Okay. I'm like, these people are a little bit crazy. They seem like a little too devoted to this situation.
That's the issue, is because all the components that we use are crucial and essential. And most people really don't have an understanding what it takes and how serious you have to be when you're doing these things.
Right. No, and I agree, because I've done it. Yeah. Or I'm in the process still, but but then the other thing that freaked me out, I was like, God damn, are you 108 days? I was like, and seriously, no offense. I was like, where did this fool get this number? I mean, did we just pull 108 days? It's random. Okay. Why not 2 years? Why not make it a lifetime? And I know what you're thinking. Yeah, that's the idea, dude. It is a lifetime. That's kind of the joke, right? And tried to convince my family, my mom and my dad came and visited me today, and I'll talk about that a little later, because some amazing things have happened to me in the last 3 weeks, Gino. So I can't even really put it into words. Okay. But, so I felt this charge immediately, like, I don't care what I have to do. And I saw the herbs. I'm not going to lie. I was a little frustrated with the expense, but I'm a newbie. I didn't understand the quality of herbs. So just to get my start, I went to the herbal store, and I thought I was doing myself a favor by spending a couple $100 in herbs, and got these herbs and started taking them. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But I just kind of had this feeling like, no, dude, you need to just buy the herbs from Gino. I can't really explain why I felt that way. I mean, we never talked about it. And just so people know, I mean, Gino and I didn't even really talk before I started the Master Fast. I didn't consult with him at all. This was just kind of my own intuition. And so, like, within, I think it was 15 days into my fast of just taking these other herbs from places, I finally got what I'm going to call the real deal. I started on the Divine 9. If I knew what I knew now, I wouldn't even have hesitated. I would have gotten Last Supper 12 from the beginning, and maybe have even added additional formulas. I mean, I know this is just kind of a little bit of testimony on my part. I know they're expensive for some people. Let's not even kid yourself.
Yeah.
When you don't know the effectiveness of a program, spending anywhere from $500 to $800 on herbs.
It's because of the upfront. But once you break it down to your daily cost, which that's the problem for people, it's that upfront.
Right. And that is definitely.
How much money can you spend a month eating versus what you're doing on Master Fast now?
Oh, I could tell you. For me alone, when I was in my food addiction and eating in the United States of America, $700 to $900 a month.
For yourself?
That was for me. Okay, so that's why 245 pounds, I mean, doesn't come from anywhere. Okay, it doesn't come from nowhere. So for me, I mean, cutting back, I mean, $900 would have easily bought the 12 and everything to do a 108-day fast. Probably would have been enough to buy maybe even all the grape juice, depending. I mean, maybe not quite that much, but I mean, it would have been close.
Yeah.
So 1 month, essentially, maybe a little, for me, a little bit over what I spent in 1 month would have covered the whole 3 months. But let me just tell you, when I started taking the first time I took the tinctures too, and remember, I mean, I'm used to drinking Mountain Dew and sugar and processed food. I mean, those herbs were horrible. Okay. And one time I took it a shot, I nearly puked it up. It was really hard to take. I was like, no, this is some crazy stuff. But again, I was like, I just knew it was going to work for me. I can't tell you how I knew it was going to work. I just knew it was going to work.
Was this when you just started or when you got the herbs that you ordered from us?
When I got the herbs from you guys.
Okay.
Because I mean, literally the herbs that I was taking from the other store, they were like water in comparison. And I mean, they literally were like water. I mean, I probably could just take the whole bottle and just drink it. I don't think I could do that with your herbs, Gino, just because it would.
You don't need to.
Well, yeah, the potency.
I remember you mentioned. I remember you mentioned once that when you dry fast, when you go for a longer dry fast, you fall in love with the herbal tinctures.
I did.
You were saying if you don't like them, dry fast and take them.
No, and that's what was so crazy. So. And so this was my introduction. Let's just move into the dry fast, or I'm sorry, let's just move into the master fast period now. You guys I think get a pretty good feel of where I was at.
Yeah.
You said just start with the dry fast when you start your fast, and all my stuff hadn't come. It was a few days I knew it was going to be here, so I just started dry fasting. And just because I had so much weight and so much trash inside of me, I did a 5-day dry fast like it was nothing. I was like, holy crap, how did I just go 5-day dry fast?
You had no issues? It was easy for you?
Yeah, I had no dehydration. I was just like, wow.
Yeah. Usually people that are overweight can seem to be able to go onto the dry fast pretty easily because all that excess fat and stuff is a lot of water, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, so this part's going to be a little graphic. I apologize. At the end, when I broke the dry fast and drank, I did have a bowel movement, but I mean, what came out was bright orange. Wow. And I was like, this looks like the cough syrup that I took as a kid. Okay, this is weird. I'm like, what's going on with my body? Later on, I've heard that maybe that could be potentially a liver dump. It could have just been toxins within my bowels that just needed to come out. It could have been all sorts of things, but I was like, okay, we're onto something here. It doesn't matter. We're doing it.
What does it smell like?
Exactly.
Well, that's the thing. It had almost no smell.
Okay.
Interesting.
Or either that, or I was so plugged up because I had sinus issues. I just couldn't really smell it that well.
So you had sinus issues?
Had, yeah. So then I started along the path. And I'm going to tell you that because I had water fasted that 25 days, at least this is the way it worked for me. My emotions weren't terribly stirred the first 25 days. I had already gone down this. I felt like my body was getting way more support with the juice and the lemon mixture, doing the enemas. It was just kind of like, I thought I was just kind of removing this stuff that I had eaten in the last year and a half or so from the last time I did that serious water fast, and was really kind of gentle and easy. And I thought, wow, this 108 days is going to be nothing.
Well, when was the time you did the water fast? What year was that?
That was probably, let's see, it's 2017, so 2015 at some point, maybe.
Too long ago. Okay.
So, yeah. And then something magical happened on in the late 20s to early 30s, 28, 29 to day 30. I did have some, in Master Fast, I did have some emotional issues. I remember the first post I really kind of made to the group. I was like, okay, I'm having some anger. I've struggled with anger for quite some time. And
I remember that.
You know, I've gone to a lot of therapy to try to improve my relationship with my dad. And actually had made a lot of good progress. And then all of a sudden I was driving home, and out of the blue, I was like, I had this memory of me and my dad, and I was like, God, he's such a bastard. And my dad is such a bastard. And I was driving the car, and I was like, do I need to pull over? Am I going to be able to make it? Am I going to want to run someone over? Because I was seriously upset. I was angry.
Wow.
Almost just like that. And I came home, and then I just sat down. I'm just like, you know, I just don't understand this, you guys. The stuff I had forgiven my dad for, I've forgiven myself for. I really felt like I moved on, but it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks, and then it went away. And I had a few more episodes like that, really, where anger would just kind of come and go.
Yeah, it's locked in within ourselves, and when you fast, it releases them. It's very interesting the way it happens. Like it could be from 30, 40 years ago, whatever. You know, the time doesn't mean anything.
Right. No, and that's important. Actually, and I'm going to touch on that a little bit too, Gino, too, later. But time is a complete figment of the human state. Okay. But then day 30 hit, and I went to bed and had a dream, and I was so excited that I was dreaming. I was like, holy crap, I haven't had dreams. I'm not even lying, probably for 7, 8, 10 years. Wow. I had really bad acid reflux, to the point where I would wake up. So in addition to my caffeine situation, if the caffeine wasn't keeping me awake, it was my acid reflux. And so I'd wake up 3 or 4 or 5 times at night and have a hard time going back to sleep. Well, this night I just fell asleep. And then I just started dreaming about all these foods, everything that I really loved growing up, all the foods that I was missing. And I thought, wow, that's kind of cool. Except for that went on for 30 straight days.
Wow.
And I was just like, I don't know how I'm just going to be honest. I honestly don't know how I got through it. Because, and let me tell you why. I know, Gino, you're always encouraging us, write down your goals, have your intentions, read it down. I wanted to take the book where I wrote my intentions, light it on fire, and just never see it again. I mean, that's where I was at. It's like, I don't care that I have these goals. I don't care how much pain I was suffering. This is complete nonsense. I don't understand what's going on with me.
But let me tell you, once you wrote them down, you've manifest them in matter state, and you can do whatever you want. But that's why we do it. It's to bring that manifestation down here, so we can go towards that. Whether we believe it or not, it doesn't matter, because that writing them down with that intent and emotion is all we need. This is what Master Fast is. It's not about anything else. It's the intent and emotion that we're focusing on.
You might have ups and downs, but because you still wanted them at some point, we come back to the same goals.
Right.
Brought that up.
So by the end of the 30 days, I could tell it was almost ending, because, you know, I don't know if you ever watch kids, mix their food sometimes. Sometimes they just want to do really crazy stuff like, oh, let's put chocolate milk and fruit flavored cereal, and, let's put some other weird stuff in it, and they eat it, and they're just like, oh, this is kind of weird and good, right? Well, I had dreams that I was eating this type of stuff. And so I knew I was actually, and then it finally ended. But it's easy to kind of say that in 30 or 45 seconds, but it really was, I faced my food addiction during that period of time.
So 1 sec, are you working, right?
Yeah.
Full time? Full
time, yep. Full time at a stressful job. I work as a business analyst at AT&T. It's a wireless provider in the United States. Mm-hmm. So I felt bad for my coworkers at times, because the anger came out to people that you're closest to. I got so lucky I didn't get called on HR. there was a couple calls because I lead a team. That's what I do. I lead a team of developers and development and business team. It's a mixed team. And one day I seriously just lost my shit. Mm-hmm. I was just like, this code you guys are generating, the user experience you're doing, everything, this all sucks. You guys suck. I mean, I literally, and then it went on for like 20 to 30 minutes. I finally just said, I hung up the phone. The next day, my boss called me and he's like, Scott, what happened on the call yesterday? I'm like, I'm sorry. And I told him, you know, I'm sorry. But once I faced my food addictions, I'm going to say the most important phase of Master Fast kicked in for me, which was the emotional phase. Okay. For me, and now looking back, it's kind of like there was a Hoover Dam built up between me and my true emotional state, and the massive amount of physicality. I mean, and I literally mean that. And I don't know, Gino, if you've had this experience or you can relate to this, but if this is the first time going through it, there's a massive amount of physical things that need to happen before you get to your core situation, usually. And for me, that was definitely the case. At this point in the fast, I had lost 50 pounds at least. So I was about 180 to 170.
You're releasing, baby.
Yep.
Physically.
Yep. And this is the part of the fast where I just started to cry every day. But now that I've done this mindfulness project, I understand it. It was crying without a story. That's how I want to say it. So this is what I mean. Or being upset without a story. So I wasn't angry. I wasn't like, oh, Dad, you're such a bastard. I was just, you know what? I'm angry with this. But there was no story I was telling myself about it. There wasn't any like, oh, this is the reason why I'm angry. Because when I was little, I was abused sexually and all this stuff happened to me and poor me. No, I'm angry because this thing made me mad. And I was just like, that's really weird. Like I'd never had just experienced emotions on that type of level before. Like I'm happy because I'm happy. I'm not happy because I'm trying to seek acceptance or approval, or I'm not happy because I want to make somebody else happy. I just did this. It made me feel happy. So I felt happy. And then even more releasing every day. I'd lock myself in the bathroom sometimes. I know I said this 15 to 20 minutes and I would just allow myself to weep. And after a while, I was kind of concerned. I was like, wow, I just have so much emotional stuff. So I did go to my therapist and I'm like, and this guy, he's like 80 something, really great guy, just understands psychological healing. He just looked at me and he was like, Scott, I'm so jealous. I wish I could have this kind of release. And then I just felt comforted. I was so comforted. I'm like, oh, thank God, another dude just said, crying is okay. Like literally. And I was doing good work. And so then this puts me about 15 days or so, 20 days from ending Master Fast and with all this emotional stuff. And I started thinking about eating. And I can't really tell you what happened inside of my brain. I was like, I don't feel good right now. Emotionally, I feel sick. Physically, I'm weak. I'm not in a place. And I just got to tell you, sometimes I have to admit, especially when I was in my emotional darker places, when I would hear people punk out and quit, I just want to call them on the phone and just say, what the hell is your problem? You quit when you were feeling like shit. Why do you quit when you feel like shit? And then all of a sudden you want to come back and complain? It's just like, no. If you quit when you feel like shit, you think that eating fruit, you can eat the highest order, most vibrational food on the planet. You think that's going to help you process this stuff? And clearly this was just me being angry and dealing with emotional issues. And I didn't realize that at the time, right? So thank goodness I didn't really respond on the page the way I was feeling, because I'm sure that Gina would have been like, yo, bro, I don't know what's going on with you, but we got to pour some baking soda onto you, like chill you out a little bit, man.
He's actually
but then
thinks the way you think.
But then what really happened is this anger triggered fear inside of me, like a deep-seated fear. I'm like, I'm going to go back to eating Mexican food again and drinking, and I'm going to go back to this painful condition. And I don't feel good. I'm not ready to exit this program, even though the program has 108 days. And I was like, I honestly didn't know what to do. And so I did make another post at that time. And there was a couple guys that responded to me who, I can't even tell you how thankful I was for their response. I mean, they were like, Scott, it's okay. Just don't worry about it. You'll get it figured out. And I was like, what do you mean? I'll just get it figured out. I'm asking you guys what to do. Like, this is the state I was in. Like, I don't want to think for myself right now. I'm scared. I'm nervous. I'm upset. I don't feel well. I just need somebody to tell me what the hell to do. I don't want to think about it. And is it Chris Robson? I think is one of the guys on the page. He's like, Scott, meditate on this. Mm-hmm. And then later Gino responded, and Rana, you also responded, and a calmness kind of came over me. Even though I was still filled with fear, I was kind of filled with calmness too. And I was like, let's get this figured out, because I don't want to end my fast feeling like crap. And I don't want to end my fast feeling angry. And this is where magic happened. So this is 15 days from the end of the fast, guys. Okay. I had already been down a rough road, in my opinion, although people have had it rougher than me, no doubt. But this is when a video popped up on my YouTube channel. It's just a raw foodist that I follow, and the guy goes, what do you do when you have
Sorry, you cut out there. What you do when what?
When you have to emotionally detox on a fast. Oh, okay. And I was like, are you for real? Like, this is what I needed. I mean, I was like, for the first time in my life, I had written intentions down. And without outside people telling me what to do, something came to me. Something was attracted inside of my sphere of influence directly. And so I watched it. And this is when I made that post about the completion process. Mm-hmm. And then about this mindfulness process, right? Mm-hmm. And I didn't really know what this was going to hold in store for me, because I knew I had been dumping emotionally a lot, but this was new to me. Mindfulness wasn't new to me, and meditation wasn't new to me, but this process was new, how he was doing it. And it was 10 weeks. And I only had like a week and a half left on my master fast. And I was like, well, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. And I'm going to work on my emotional body, because I already knew that for some reason, when I'm eating a lot of food, it's like blocking me from doing emotional work, because the food is settling my emotions. So this really started sinking in. People, food settles emotions.
Yeah, and it numbs them more.
Right, numbs them. So if you're angry all the time and you want to deal with that anger, if you eat a bunch of food, you may or may not be able to process it that well. So it's a 10-week program that I've been working on, 10-week mindfulness program. Right now I'm in week 3 of it. I'm not going to be fasting the whole entire time, but it's very structured, which is something I need for this. And so you essentially meditate 15 minutes a day, and there's other mindfulness things that you do. And I have to say that the emotional component is what I was missing. Sometimes when I hear Gino talk on the Facebook, and sometimes when I initially receive the words, and I'm like, that dang hippie, what does he know, man? What do you mean? Emotion is the center of creation. Okay, what the shit, dude? That this makes no sense at all. Well, now it's beginning to make sense. Okay, I'm beginning to see, like, The other thing that was interesting, and we started talking about time, and I really would like just to take a couple minutes to talk about this. One of the things he says is, when you feel an emotion, it's like in a resonance. It's a resonance of energy within your side of your spiritual being. It has nothing to do with your mental state. It has nothing to do with your physical state. If you try to resolve an emotion using logic, good luck. You're gonna spend about $1 million in therapy and wonder why you're still so screwed up. Okay.
This is the challenge of trying to convey the message to people about how to deal with emotions with our language. How do you do that?
Yeah, from my experience, and this is just me personally, everybody has their own experience. I can't. I cannot explain to you what it feels like when I'm angry. Okay? I can't explain it to you in a mental way. Now, I might be able to do something to you that will make you feel angry, and then you understand just fine. Okay? But if I had to sit here and explain to you what it feels like angry, well, is it just an increase in blood pressure? I can do that by running. That's not it. You know? Is it a negative thought? Well, what is a negative thought really? What does that mean? So anyways, this whole thing about time, they were like, feel this emotional resonance. And they're like, usually it's the things, and thank God for kids, thank God for spouses, thank God for people who trigger this stuff in me. And seriously, thank you. That's all. When I'm triggered now, I just say, thank you very much. Thank you. Because then I'm like, hold on to this, baby, because you got it and you're not letting go of it. And so I sit there with it. I don't think about it. I feel it. And then once I feel it, it's kind of like, when was the last time I felt like this? And then my mind trekked back like 7 years, which 7 years is actually kind of an important time period. It's developmentally, the first 7 years is our emotional state. The second 7 years is our physical state. Not physical. The second 7 years is our mental state. We start going to school, we learn stuff. And then by the time you turn 14 or so, that's when puberty hits, and that's when you hit your physical state, okay? So it was no wonder, that emotion really, I mean, when you're a baby and you want something to eat, we don't really think about this, but we cry. It's not like, hey, Mom, I need some food right now. Or, hey, Mom, change my messy diaper. It's you cry. That's it. That's your way of getting attention. So I started noticing events with the same physical resonance, and I was able to track it back to when I was 5 or 6 to something that happened to my dad. And then I used the completion process to deal with the situation. Okay. Once I had done this completion process on it, it's like an exorcism happened inside of my body. I don't know how to explain it, but I could feel an energy leave me. And I was just like, I love my dad. I love my dad unconditionally. I would do anything for him. And my anxieties went away. And it was almost like when I was going through this process of tying it, I could feel myself bound up. It was like with cords, like every single negative emotion. Every time I had this negative resonance, it was bound to me with a cord. And I could just feel myself bound tightly down. And I was like, this is kind of messed up. But as I sat with it and then did that other process, it was like somebody cut the cords all at once. And I was like, Master Fast destroyed me. Don't do it unless you want to be destroyed. And at that point in time, I mean, I couldn't have, I honestly, it's like my counselor, the guy that I go see, told me about his dad, and his dad just thought him being a psychologist was ridiculous. Why do you want to study that stuff? It's ridiculous. It's stupid. You'll never help anybody. And then his dad went on his deathbed, and he still gave him so much crap about, you know, him and his crap. Just a few days before his dad died, he finally was in such a weakened state. His ego was finally weakened to the point where he was like, son, I'm so proud of you and everything you did. That's what Master Fast does, except for it accelerates it. It will take your ego and it will shred it. It shreds it. And I mean, it's not like, I'm not saying you're in a fight with it, and maybe shredding it is a bad way of saying it. Maybe another way of it is it puts it in perspective. If your ego is right here in your face all the time, it will take it and it will, you know, keep going out further and further until it has distance. Your ego is always part of you. And I'm not trying to sit here saying you can destroy your ego and you have to fight it like that, but it does weaken it. And I can honestly say now, because I couldn't say this even 2 weeks ago, that I feel good.
Can you explain briefly the completion process?
Yeah, the completion process is and the link is in the. I can do it. I can maybe repost the link again in the site, but the guy explains what this like. Okay, what it's like. He goes, traumatic events are like trees that are growing in the soil. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's the way he explains it. That's the way he starts it off. And then he's like, let me explain. He goes, recently I worked with this guy, and he's like, he was in India. They were in India at the time. And as a young child, he was with his father on the beach. And while he was on the beach with his father, he watched a group of fishermen get into a real fight, like real physical fight, altercation. And one of the fishermen pulled out a knife and stabbed another fisherman to death right in front of this kid. His response was immediately a fight or flight. He was overwhelmed with fear. He ran away. He ran off the beach. And now he's 43 years old. When he drives by a beach and looks at it, his heart starts to palpitate. Okay, so this, I mean, I don't know if we understand this, but I mean, really think about this. This stored emotional experience caused him heart palpitations, caused him a physical weakness. And emotions will create positive and negativity. I really believe now that what we manifest in our physical form literally is a mirror of our spiritual state. And when we don't know this, it's kind of like looking in the mirror and you have all these pimples on your face. And so you grab the Windex and you're scrubbing the mirror to try to remove the pimples from your face. Okay.
Good analogy.
But so then this guy takes him through this process. He's like, I want you to, first off, you have to create a safe environment to feel these emotions. If you're not with somebody who genuinely loves you and who is willing to sit with you to feel this stuff, don't even bother. Don't waste your time. If you're with a friend who can't support you to do this, it's just going to cause you further damage because it'll piss you off and you won't even know why. Because you're seeking help, they won't be able to help you. And then you'll more than likely, unless you're just really attuned, you're going to redirect your anger and frustration and cause a bigger problem with that friend. Okay. So you sit with somebody and you relive this experience, not remember. Well, so for me, it was like, maybe I'll just share my own experience because it'll be easier for you. Okay. So my dad got this multi-component stereo in the 80s. You know, it has an amplifier and the tape deck and the turntable. And I wanted to help him build it. You know, I was only 9 years old though. And my dad basically looked at me and he said two things for me. I said, oh, Dad, I got excited. You know, I'm a 9-year-old kid, 9-year-old boy. I'm working with the God of my life, literally my hero, my father. He looks at me and he tells me, Scott, shut up and get away from me. I just want to do this on my own. He was just having a bad day. Mm-hmm. You know what happened in my 9-year-old brain? People will never help me. People are going to mistreat me. I feel abandoned. I feel horrible inside. I feel like when people are going to talk to me, they're going to be motivated by their own motives, not by anything else. That was the 9-year-old reaction. when I did the completion process, I said, what was it like for me to be 9 years old? Oh yeah, my dad, he was a god to me at that time. He was an all-powerful person. He could do anything. He was the person that was my source of all my knowledge and everything that was important. He was my source of love and compassion and all this stuff, you know? And so when I relived this experience as an adult, of course, that initial wave was all this negativity again. But then as I sat there, and this is where the key to the completion process comes in, thoughts that balanced out the situation came into my mind. Like, it didn't even occur to you to ask your dad in a way that made sense to him. You triggered your father. Your behavior, the way you decided to act, triggered your father. And although I'm not responsible for the trigger, I am responsible for my behavior. And all this stuff came through. And so then as I relived it, I can't explain it, but the emotion was released. Part of the completion process is you do it 5 times. So I did it again. I started from the beginning. What is it like to be 9 years old?
All in one day?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, I didn't move. You know, that night I had insomnia. I was like, okay, I'm doing it, man. I'm going for it. I'm like, I'm just going to spend that time. So I did. I went into my office for about about an hour or so and worked on this on my own. And I relived it 5 times. And afterwards I was like, I am no longer connected to this stuff anymore. But the thing is you can't remember. Remembering doesn't work. You have to put yourself in there. And then if it is a childhood experience, what I'm going to say is let yourself be that little kid. Be vulnerable. You know, it felt like a dagger going into my heart when my dad said those things. But the adult in me said, you know, I love you, Scott. You're a hot mess, but I still love you. Let me pull that dagger out for you. Wow, doesn't that feel better? Now let's stitch it up. Now, doesn't that feel better? Now just give it some time. And I'm free. I'm free. And literally, this is probably the last few words I'm going to say. I know I don't know how long I've gone. I'm sorry. I know I'm long-winded.
Yeah, time.
but I will say this. I cut those negative cords and I watched them go away. And then the following night, so last night, I got in bed. I fell straight asleep and didn't move until 8 o'clock in the morning when the sun hit my face. I slept 8 hours straight. When at the beginning of the master fast, I couldn't sleep for more than 2 hours at a time.
Wow.
And I mean, I don't know. That's not even all the stuff. I mean, like I said, I had acid reflux. I also had a slump in my back. So, you know, I naturally kind of sit hunched. For the last 3 weeks, that part of my back was extremely painful. Trying to stand up was extremely painful. And then all of a sudden it went away, just boom, like that. And I feel like my back is stronger. Okay, so yeah, because, you know, I've been adding all this nutrition to my body. So that's what's caused it, is this high quality nutrition.
Magic.
It's like, I wonder if that, you know, I honestly sometimes wonder if the bend in my back started when I had that incident with my dad, because it alleviated right after I resolved that. So I didn't even really put that together until now. So honestly, I feel like I did start the Buteyko process, if that's how you say it, the breathing. I feel like I could get my energy back, Gino, on my fast. I feel like the physical weakness can leave my body even at the end of my fast now. I want to go running. So I don't know. The bottom line for me is the master may stand for fast. For me, it's also stood for freedom, the master freedom system. I mean, I'm getting to the point now where I just sit in my office for an hour. I try to sit in my office an hour a night without any distraction, with nothing, and just try to accept being in nothingness and being okay with nothing. And it's just, I don't know. I can't summarize it in words. If I could just let people see, it's like, oh, this is the analogy. This is the analogy I wanted to share. So when you start following your heart and your emotions, you can see an illuminated path before you. And it's scary as hell to start walking down that, because it contradicts so many of the ego so badly. But what most people don't realize is that light is not meant to illuminate the path. It's meant that when you walk down it, that light goes into you and illuminates your soul, illuminates your heart. It sets your light beacon on fire. And you become your own source of light. There is no lighted path anymore. And you become one with your source and one with walking down your path. And there's nothing, no amount of cars, no amount of relationships, except for the one with yourself, no amount of sex, no amount of accomplishment, whatever you want to do, that can give you this feeling. And hell, I got it for less than $1,000. I mean, I've gone to the emergency room before just to take an allergy pill. I was there for an hour, and I think by the time I was done, they cost me $750.
Wow.
So I know that we all come to these calls for a specific reason, usually. I know I've come to these calls sometimes for motivation. Sometimes I've come to these calls because I've been at my wit's end and just felt like I've been dragged around by the horse for too long. But I mean, I just want this, I know this is going to YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube later, I kind of want to do an exercise with everybody right now. If everybody's willing, if you don't want to participate, I'm not going to be offended, but I really want you to think right now, what is the intention that you came to this call? If you're thinking about doing the master fast, what is the intention? And I want you to just let that surface for a little bit, especially if you're feeling some of the shadow emotions like fear, uncertainty, anger, grief. Just give yourself a pain in general. Yeah, just give yourself a moment right now to feel that intention. Man, I'm just going to take like 30 seconds or so of silence, and let's just let the intention surface starting from now. Now what I would like everyone to do, and this is, I think, where the true power of plasma love and intention really comes from. No matter your intention right now, I want your heart, even if you feel like you can't. And what I mean by that is, when I first started self-love, my heart felt like it was covered in granite rock. It was so hard. I had a hard time. Even if that's all you can do, trust me, that's enough. No matter what you can do at this point in time, it's enough. And I want you really just to focus on feeling the deepest possible love for yourself. And just take a moment and just say your name in your mind. So, Scott, I love you. We can resolve this together. And then I just want you to think about everybody that's on this call and all of their suffering. And I want you to think as a combined group now with our love at our different levels. Let's combine this together as a group. We can overcome this together. And, you know, as a newly appointed admin, I'm going to make a commitment to everybody on the call and everybody that watches this YouTube channel. If I read your post and you need some help, I don't care if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, my time. I don't care if it's I'm right in the middle of a meeting. Tag me in that post. I may not be able to respond immediately, but I promise, this is at the very least, this is what I promise to do. I will open my heart to you, and I will imagine pure, white, flowing energy going into you and going into the intention of your heart to do what I can to help and support you. We can heal this, guys. We can heal each other, and we can heal ourselves. There's no question about it in my mind any longer. And if we can't, for some reason, if it is our time, if it is our calling that we pass, we will pass in the light. And that will also be a great gift to us as we move on to the next place, whatever that might mean to you. And I just really wanted to leave everybody with that, and just let everybody know that I love you. I'm very thankful for you. And yeah, if you have any questions or anybody else wants to take over, you know, I think I've talked enough now.
You started to go to the intention of 108, but you continued, right? You never finished that. What day are you on now?
118.
Wow.
I'm going to, let's see, I'm not good with numerical math, unfortunately. 27 days. I'm adding 27 days. To me, the Master Fast week is 9 days. I don't know why. I just always felt Master Fast week was 9 days. So I just decided it was a random thing. I just thought, okay, well, do I want to go 27 days? Whatever, 27 sounded good. So yeah, I think it's 130 something, right? 135 or something.
Yeah, that sounds real right.
Yeah, 135, 135 when I'll be done. So
have you mentally planned out what you want to do when you end?
No, but I am in the process. And today I started writing down my intentions. And I was like, you know, what is really holding me back? And what really came down to honoring myself. I mean, if you think about it, I don't even care if you do a 5-day fast and it's your first time. That's a lot of energy, man. That takes a lot of stuff. And if you go the full 108 days, if you go 40 days, man, that's a big commitment in my mind. It's a lot of, I mean, you've sacrificed social gatherings. You've had to retrain yourself to do so many different things. So what I was afraid of is just not honoring that commitment. As soon as I break the fast, going back. And now I'm allowing myself to stumble. I mean, I know Rana has probably had to tell me this like 100 times, and I appreciate her patience with that. But she's like, don't worry about it, Scott. If you gain weight, you mess up, we've all done it. Don't worry about it. Just come back. And I'm just like, yeah, that's easy for you to say. But I mean, that's going to be, it was devastating for me to think in those terms. But now it's not devastating anymore. It's
part of the learning process.
So now my focus is honoring myself. So if I go out and, if God forbid, I go out and eat a 70-ounce steak dinner and go stuff myself with Mexican food, honoring myself would be, I know there was a reason for that. And that's okay that happened. Mm-hmm. If I have to dry fast the next 2 years to get that stuff out of me again, so be it. But tomorrow we can start again. And I know that you will get a grip. If you're on yourself, you'll get a grip. You have this 108 days. So my intentions are forming, but literally, I'm going to break my fast slow. I'm going to probably break my fast with a combination of fasting and fruits. So eat a little bit, just cut it off. Even if I don't care how bad the cravings are, I did it for 30 days straight. I can do it again. When once I feel like my digestive system is going again, I'm going to just maybe introduce some other stuff, maybe more diverse fruits. And then honestly, I just don't know where I'm going to land. At the very least, I want to lead a whole foods diet, with vegetables and fruits, maybe some cooked, maybe some raw. I know that a lot of people say raw is law, and I mean, eventually that would be really nice if I could get there, but I feel like I have to take it a day at a time. So that's the kind of like the broad strokes. The fruit fasting for a while. I'm going to call it fruit fasting, and then we'll just kind of see how it goes from there.
Yeah. Watermelons coming in season now from some places, and it's a very easy fruit to digest, and it's pretty filling. If people get cravings for greens and stuff, the green juices could help settle that. Some people don't get those cravings, and some do. Everybody's different. But if you do get them, go to the green juices or go to the salads with blended greens and
right.
That. But the key for breaking the fast is foods that move through you the quickest. That's what we're looking for. So all the nutrition stuff you've learned out the window as we've done in the master fast. We want foods to sweep out everything that the fast has loosened up, because now you got a nice fresh GI tract, pretty clean after that length of time. We want to finish off the process and the second phase of the metamorphosis, as we like to put it. The first phase is doing 108 days is your metamorphosis, and then you got another one. Start all over again. So,
right.
You take it day by day, but, a lot of people have big challenges when they go back to food. And this is where we decided to write out the many options. They were always there. It was just people need it spelled out. How, who, what, where, when. So now we have many, many choices, and that would probably be the way to get in. You need to keep fasting part of the life. You can't go back to where you were. You can't go back to eating 7 days a week.
Right.
That life is gone. If you're going to do massive fast and you want to go back to eating 7 days a week, don't do massive fast. Just keep doing what you're doing.
No, and I agree. So when I meant fasting, I mean intermittent fasting. I mean, the thing is the other thing that Master Fast does, it does actually provide a really good structure. It provides a daily structure because we have a wet window and we have a dry window. We have our weekly fasts, so we can look forward to the weekly dry fasting. And then we have the monthly dry fasting, and we have the seasonal dry fasting. And that dry fasting is something that's going to be part of me for the rest of my life. I've made that determination. I'm like, that's one of the ways I'm going to honor myself.
Guys, the one thing, never leave, always have that as part of your life, the dry fast. Always.
Yeah. And that's really quick, the dry fasting. So let me just explain what happens to me neurologically from a neurological point of view when I do a dry fast. Okay. For my symptoms, especially. So as I get into the dry fast, everything calms way down. My nerves fire off less. I have less pain. Everything calms down. Well, when I break it, when I break the dry fast, everything is triggered almost immediately. My nerves fire up. I get a little bit of that pain. Now, the pain spark is nothing like it was. But what's really funny is after that kind of initial, blip, then everything settles down again, even when I'm drinking the juice and doing all of this. So
from a scale to 1 to 10, before you started the fast, what was the pain like, and what's it like now, 1 to 10?
So the scale, in addition to the scale of 1 to 10, I would also like how often I felt pain. Okay. The pain was constant. And so it's kind of like, it literally would be kind of like taking a thumbtack and pushing it into your skin. And then every once in a while you brush up against it and you remember it's there. Okay. But it would range on my bad days. It would go from, and it would be at a 6 and go all the way to 9.
Wow.
So and then, it unfortunately didn't stick in my feet and legs. I mean, it was going up into my back, sciatica, going down my arms and into my fingers. You know, Ed Wellville, that was the path I was on. Where his body is right now, that's where I would have been without Master Fast. I know it because it was just too much. But yeah, the number was somewhere between 6 and 9.
Holy jeez.
How about now?
Now it's like a 3. Sometimes it'll go to a 4.
So now, before you said it was constant, and now is it still constant to 3?
No.
Is it
like right now? Right now, I had to tune into my body to just see where I was at, which means it wasn't there.
Okay, so there's times that it's not there now. Amazing, great. And then the dry fasting is probably the times where it's the best.
It is.
In general.
But, you know, but I guess I really wanted to emphasize for people with neurological situations, don't be surprised if when you break your dry fast, I haven't figured this out. I don't understand what happens. I don't know if it's just simply stuff passing through my intestines or my stomach or something. I don't know. But it is literally something when that physical stuff goes through my body, it lights me up.
Just think of it as in a dry fast, the body's doing its magic like no other. And it's doing things that we'll never probably understand. So all these things, these cells are burning up, whatever. Along with all those, there's memory. So the body's got to eliminate these things. And in a dry fast, we don't have much movement with liquids or bowels. So once we break these dry fasts, what's got to happen is they got to be washed out in the physical and the emotional. It works both ways. But the physical part starts getting washed out. And as they're getting washed out from you drinking, you get a relapse of the memories of these before they say goodbye. So, and you know, as you go deeper into layers, as you're peeling the onions, you know, we don't know how long it's going to take, how many years.
Right.
Once you hit that center, there's nothing there. You're healed. You're healed. So you got to keep working at this. You have to embrace all these things that come. As long as you're on the fast in general, on the master fast, all the things that you experience, no matter what, if they feel horrible or whatever, whenever there's change, we like to say it's all good news. We don't like stagnation. If you have a pain and nothing's moving, it's not good. You know, and this is what people are eating. The pain's always there, never moves. You go on a fast, pains come, they go, they move around, and this is the beauty. And you have to gain that understanding, or not, if you want to know why. We gain that understanding that the body's doing what it knows to do beautifully, and embrace it. Embrace it, because there's nothing out there that's going to heal us. It's all going to happen within. We just have to learn the understanding of it and keep that confidence. The trust and the faith is where I see 99.9% of people lack when they're fasting. They don't have that trust and the faith. Even myself, with all these years of fasting, get into these fasts, and you know, I still get those mind games coming, and I got to say, shut up, because it's always there, no matter how much experience. But we have that knowing, and we just push through. No matter what, we push through. We push through. But we allow it to go. We allow it to happen. But yeah, the word pushing, I got to get that out of my vocabulary. We allow that change. We allow the healing. We allow it. We allow it. We allow it.
Right.
And embrace it. Allow it. It's a much better word. So this is only going to come with experience. We can listen to 1,000 different people fast.
But we will do mistakes. Yeah. We will do mistakes.
Yeah.
We will only learn
on our own.
When we are ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think that's like really good, or that you say that. Am I saying your name right, Rana? Is it Rana or is it?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, thank you.
It means frog in Italian.
Okay. You know, that it's important, I think, to realize that Master Fast does have its protocol. It has the things you can and can't do. But I think, you know, sometimes when I think people, especially when they're trying to start, they're like, oh my gosh, tell me everything I need to know to get started. Let me just tell you what you need to know to get started. Start taking the juice, taking your tinctures, and just keep it really simple. And especially if this is your first time, don't worry about everything. Just make sure all your actions are within the protocol. And then with time, make it your own. Not everybody's going to need to do the emotional work that I needed to do. Some people are going to have to focus way more on rebuilding their bodies. I've seen people with, you know, their rib cages are malaligned, or, you know, their finger is crooked, or maybe their femur healed wrong, you know, physical. These people are going to need more attention and physicality. Some people may need more mental work. You know, they may need to work with their mind. So there is only one way you can really know how to do Master Fast, really. Make it as simple as possible at first. Mm-hmm. Don't try to do everything all at once. Make it as simple as possible. Then adapt things. Because there's probably at least 20 to 50 different things that you could do at any given time. If I try to do all 50 coming from ground zero, I'm not going to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. I mean, in fact, just so you guys know, the Buteyko breathing method, I mean, I had to remind myself, oh yeah, this is one of the tools. Does that mean the previous 108 days are not good? Well, clearly that's not the case. I've had a lot of healing. I've had a lot of good. I'm just adding another thing to the arsenal. And, you know, as far as like breaking the fast, I don't know what all the technicalities are and stuff, but clearly if you eat food, that breaks your fast. But I mean, sometimes do what you have to do to stay on the fast, and do the minimum amount that you have to do. So this would be my suggestion. Let's say you're just craving food like crazy and you're drinking less than a liter of liquid a day. Dude, please start drinking, immediately go to 2 liters. Mm-hmm. If that isn't enough, go up to the maximum, 3 liters. Mm-hmm. We're not in a sprint here. If that still doesn't work, take your 3 liters, make a veggie broth, add it to your tinctures. Okay? Be patient with yourself as you work through this stuff. If that still doesn't work, then really do some considering. Do I need to take a green juice and take a couple days break? Guess what? Having a couple of green juices in the middle of the fast, in my opinion, doesn't negate the fast. It doesn't even break the fast in my mind. Okay? Now, if you go out and start, you know, going crazy, that's a different story. But all you're doing is settling yourself down to the place where then you can, okay, let's take out that green juice now. Let's take out that vegetable broth. Now let's go back. Let's go down to 2 liters. Okay, now let's push the dry fast a little bit. Oh yeah, dry fasting. I think I should talk just maybe a couple of minutes on this, but dry fasting almost caused me to break my fast. And I did not push myself. Okay, I'm very new to dry fasting. But what I didn't know is I was dehydrated. And maybe dehydrated is the wrong way to say it, because I think this is the state that we understand. So I'm going to use that word. But let me just tell you what happened, okay? And physically, I know this is what happened. There was a certain amount of gunk and sludge that built up into my body. Mm-hmm. And it stagnated. I did not know this happened, okay? I was nauseous for 3 weeks straight. I just thought, oh, well, this will soon pass. Yeah. These were the signs for me. The herbal tea and the tinctures became extremely difficult to take. I started dry heaving uncontrollably one night for like 5 minutes. And I was like, oh my God, please. I literally played to angels and God. I was just like, because that was just my beliefs. Whatever you guys believe, please use the full power of your beliefs, because you'll need it during the dry fasting. It finally stopped, but the nausea didn't go away. Well, one day I just was like, I'm changing the juice. So I went to a tart cherry juice. And I think I drank 3 quarts in one day. I didn't guzzle it. I just throughout the day drank 3 quarts. Well, let me just tell you, I was on the bathroom. I'm not even joking. 7 times. I didn't need to do enemas that day. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. And I was like, oh my! I mean, and I was still doing enemas.
And this is what? How long ago?
This was a couple weeks ago.
Okay, after 100 days, almost.
So and then I was like, then all of a sudden, this dark feeling that I was having for like a month left, and I was like, oh wow, I was really backed up. The one thing I regret is not doing a colonic. I'm sure that if I would have just gotten a colonic, I would have just scrubbed that stuff all out of there and would have been fine. But sometimes we don't really know what true dehydration is, just like we don't know what true thirst and hunger is. But that literally, I was impacted without being constipated, but I was impacted and dehydrated in a way that made me sick.
I just had to speak to somebody a few days ago because she was going through the same thing, and she was not doing enemas like washing properly and not moving bowels. Same thing. Couldn't take anything down, throwing up. So the body's so plugged, it's going to try and push it out whatever it can. And if you're not doing your dues to keep things moving, it's not going to be a pleasant ride. It's not. Right. So, these enemas, 1 bag, yeah, okay. But 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 you may need. That's why I highly recommend people get Kalima boards or go get a colonic once or twice a week while you're on the fast. You can't overwash. You cannot overwash.
So this is the other thing. I mean, so we might as well just have a conversation about poop really quick. And so we're just going to have it. But when you're eating a normal diet, the bulk of your poop is just the fiber and the physical foods that you're eating. When you're on master fast, there's really no bulk going through you. I mean, we do have the psyllium pudding, and that's really, I think, the purpose of psyllium pudding. If you're not taking that on a regular basis, I don't care if you have to start at a half a teaspoon. Okay, who cares? A teaspoon, half a tablespoon, start there. I mean, here's some people, I am still not able to do 4 tablespoons. My bowels aren't strong enough to take 4 tablespoons of psyllium powder and push it through. Guess what? I don't care.
Okay.
Okay. 2 tablespoons is about what's right for me. But when you think about this, it's almost like you think about these small metal structures. You think about these small chemical structures. You've got crystalline stuff in there. Sometimes you have all this really fine, I'm just going to call it what it is, fine matter that's really coming through the pores of your organs. Your kidneys are finally releasing this stuff into your bowels, or maybe they're not hooked up that way. But maybe I say it a different way. Your liver is finally dumping crap into your bowels. I'm not talking about chunks of stuff. We're talking about liquid. But if your bowels aren't healed, when this toxic, and it is toxic, liquid hits your bowels, it's going to coat it. You're going to drink and stuff is going to pass through you. But that coating, and this is where I think Gino got in trouble when he wasn't doing it, when he didn't have the full master fast, these toxins can go into your kidneys. If that happens,
it's done. Yeah.
You better doing the kidney prayer, man, because
it's done interstitially, right? Everything interstitially, and this is where you get in trouble.
And the interstitial, how big is the interstitial level? I mean, we're talking microscopic levels, right?
It's 4 times bigger than the blood system.
So, I mean, you're talking about things that are like at the microscopic scale.
And this is where, when people come on the board, do I need to do the tinctures? Please go somewhere else. I don't want to deal with people like that because I know what's going on, and people want to cheat themselves out. They think it's there to make money. Please go somewhere else. I don't want to deal with it because they don't have an understanding of what's going on during the fast, on master fast.
Right.
With this cooked juice, which is...
Well, Gino, this is one thing I do want to say, though. I mean, I completely understand what you're trying to say when you say go somewhere else. But,
seriously, it's just...
I just want to talk about herbs just for a second.
Scott, this cooked juice stuff, people really don't have and understand the power of it.
No, they don't.
How much of a cleaner it really is. That's why we nicknamed it Liquid Drano. It really is Liquid Drano. No, there's no raw juice that'll ever come anywhere close to the cooked juice in its power of cleaning.
Right. So, you know, if we just go to the land of chemistry, just because I think we can understand this for a little bit, just for a minute, okay?
Sure.
When you think about these herbs, okay, and this is the way I think about them because this is what's been effective for me. Every herb is it either has a function to stimulate something or it has something to dampen. It either adds energy or it subtracts energy depending on what needs to happen. And your body knows what it needs to do. Some herbs are what you call an adaptogen, like ashwagandha, that's an adaptogen. And what does that mean? It can either stimulate something, or if something's in a hyperactive state, it can slow it down. So what are the herbs really doing? The herbs are at the same level as this interstitial stuff that needs to move out. The plasmatic fields that they generate within your body, the fields generated is at the same order of magnitude of your organs and the interstitial tissues. So when people say, and the reason why Gino gets frustrated, and Gino, you can correct me if I'm wrong, without these guys are like angels of power going into your body.
Exactly.
And they're fighting the good fight for you.
They're gifts from God.
They're pulling this toxins out of places and putting them into a place now where it needs to be swept out. This is where the psyllium putty comes in. That bentonite clay and charcoal. Bentonite clay in itself, it's not just a neutral substance that we're putting into our body. Okay, this is charged matter, and not just in the sense of positive and negative. I mean, I wish we had the microscope that we could see the energy fields, because what we would see is light waves that would trap resonant energies within our body and move them out, as well as the physical trash. I mean, I'm really confident. And when I say light, it's just because we can all identify that light actually has many wavelengths outside of the visible and, invisible and longer.
I don't think we have anything in science to look at the things that are actually doing the most work.
Right.
The energy. We don't have anything at this time. We may have in the near future, but right now, the microscopes and the what you call it, Kirlian photography and everything, it's not showing what's actually happening.
No, I agree.
Yeah. So, we do the best to allow people to get this understanding, but it's a knowing, just like what you've explained now. You have that knowing. You're knowing what's going on. It's not something that here's a science paper that explains what master fast is. It's not going to happen. Not now. We don't have the tool.
Right. And so I would just say, if you don't want to get on the herbs, don't go anywhere. Stay with us. Just get on the herbs.
It's just, I don't want to put people on a juice fast, because not on a cooked juice fast, because it's too dangerous. Too dangerous.
Right.
In my opinion.
And so I think it's worth reiterating. Gino was in the bed for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's, to me, is crippling. That was done with the partial master fast.
Yeah, you want to take a risk, you're not going to do it on our page.
Right. And I know sometimes it can seem harsh, but each one of these tools is really for the protection of the overall body system.
Yeah.
It really is.
And even people using all the tools, there's some having a huge challenge. And we have all these tools. It just shows how toxic we are in society today. We need all the help we can get, folks. This is the key.
And some of the stuff that we've intaken into our bodies, unfortunately, it's like a fish hook. It has a barbed head, and it's latched on. And a lot of times and so this is one reason why sometimes eating food doesn't help. The food will push along, and when it pushes it just pushes that barb in deeper. It's not gonna pull that sucker out. The herbs, the psyllium pudding, this type of stuff, however, has the capacity to rip it out. And then the herbs also have the capacity to go in and help rebalance that area. I'm really convinced this is part of the reason I got dehydrated in the first place. I was doing deep cleansing work in my intestines, and they just got impacted literally from an interstitial point of view. And it wasn't until I was literally started drinking the more juice. Guess what? I just took a double dose of the herbs, which I would have just thrown up instantly before, and I was fine. So when that person reacted on my post and was like, oh, freaking out, oh my God, I'm just like, you're right. We should freak out. Oh my God. But find the solution. Mm-hmm. Don't place blame anywhere. There's a solution.
The only blame that we can do is look in the mirror. What would we do our whole life up to that point?
No blame.
It's responsibility.
Right.
Take responsibility for what the way you've chosen to live your life, and just make the choice to correct it, because we have the tools now. We have the tools. This is the beauty. It can be corrected, but you're going to have to do the work.
No, exactly. And the work sometimes is painful. Yeah. And it's frightening. I don't, the other thing I think that really helped motivate me is when I was in my late 20s, like 28 or so, I had a brother that was 2 years younger than me. His birthday was September 18th. Mine was September 19th. We guys celebrated our birthdays together. We were pretty close. And unfortunately, he got non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Yeah, right.
And what's even more unfortunate is non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is honestly one of the most curable cancers that you can get. The survival rate is 95%. Okay. And this is what I'm talking about when you talk about when you're calling, when it might be just your time to go. Chemo had zero effect on his body. Zero. It just weakened him. Not that chemo doesn't always do that, but I mean, at that time, I had no idea about raw foods or anything, or any type of healing modality. I just knew about the doctors. Unfortunately, he died.
Sorry.
And but the thing I wanted to say about this is this also has kind of helped me in my journey. I mean, people want to say, well, what if you die on the master fast? What if you wake up today and you get in your car to go to the grocery store and somebody's under the influence of alcohol, hits you head on and kills you? Anything is possible. My brother was only 25 when he died. He was just starting his life. But literally, I guess that was the other thing to me, and I mean this quite literally. I would rather have died. So I was just like, if Master Fast kills me, then great. It kills me. I'm supposed to go. But it didn't, thank goodness.
It's there are hard times, I would say, for some people on the Master Fast, but for the majority of the time, we feel better than before the Master Fast, right? And for me, that's
yeah.
You look reborn to me. I think you went through a death.
Let me just tell you, okay, you guys, it is worth learning to walk through hell. Because, in reality, it doesn't have anything on you. We right now, my belief is that the order of creation that we are on, we are of a higher order than hell. We can walk through it and be fine. And I say that based on experience. It's not pleasant. The suffering isn't pleasant, but there's two types of suffering, in my opinion. There's the suffering with a story, which means, oh my God, can't believe this is happening to me again. I'm being abused. I'm being taken advantage of. But then there's suffering for healing, which is, I'm just pulling this shit out of me. and it's going to pass. And when I come on the other side, I'm going to see the light. That type of suffering is worth it. Definitely. Every step.
It's part of the process.
Yep.
Part of the process of healing. And this is where you need that faith to trust. Just keep going. Keep going. Use the tools to pull through. And you're always going to come out stronger on the other side. Always. This is what fasting does.
Yep.
It's going to connect you back to find balance. This is how we do it. And you can't get into these deep levels of healing until you stop digestion for a long time. A long time.
Right.
So, 108 days, good start. We open the doors. Where are you going to go there? You going to close the doors back, or are you going to keep going and plan the next one and the next one and the next one? Folks, you stay on these paths, get into it, first long one, and then, plan your second one, continue your dry fast, get into the massive fast.
Everybody must be ready to do the massive fast, even for a shorter fast. Be ready, If you're not ready, it's okay, but be ready. We're not trying to push anybody to do nothing. We really want everybody to learn, and when they feel comfortable, listen to our stories. When you're comfortable, go ahead. When you feel ready, go for it. If you don't feel ready, do it. Do a shorter one and train your body to fast and eat and fast and eat, because that's not easy neither. I mean, I've done a long fast and I've done
some people
shorter
have no
ones,
time.
and it's it's always difficult, to go back to eating every day, in my opinion. Until
you can't go back.
I mean, honestly, for me,
it's ridiculous.
One day a week does an amazing job. Really, it makes me feel like I'm in full master fast. The benefits of the master fast, but at the same time, it allows me to eat because I'm not ready to give up food. Who's ready to give up food all of a sudden?
Right.
So
Rena, are you still doing the dry fasting too?
Yeah.
You still have?
Yeah, 2 days a week now. I do it 2 days these days, and that's how I want to be. And I do the 3-day once a month, and it's really, it's amazing. The benefit, and then, honestly, it feels like complete master fast.
When you're on the days where you're not eating, so I think you eat on Sundays, right? You have a meal on Sunday.
And not a meal. I mean, I eat. I just eat. I relax, but I don't.
Just okay.
I mean, it makes a difference if I don't eat properly. I don't feel good. I feel sleepy fast, and also if I overeat, I have to take a break. I can't overeat. So maybe salad last week took me 3 hours, even Gino. So it was a big salad, but I mean, it was easy. It was easy on my body. It was mucusless, raw, and cooked.
You guys are redefining the old school Italian meals. You sit for 3 hours and you eat 2 ounces of food and you're overwhelmed. So the last question I have for you, Raina, is so on the days when you're not eating, are you still doing the herbs? Are you doing the herbal tinctures?
Complete master fast.
Okay. So you do complete master fast, and then do you take a break from the herbs on the day you eat?
Just one day. Honestly, it's good for me because if I want to socialize with my family or friends, I don't want to be fasting all my life with them, at least not now, maybe in a few years, but not now. I'm not ready mentally and emotionally for it. So it's nice to sit down with them and enjoy eating, just for my head a little bit, to get comfortable as well. And and with Gino, I eat, on Sunday. And it's good because the cravings are not there like when I'm eating every day. They're not there. They're exactly like on the master fast. No cravings, really, no cravings. Trust me, I used to binge eat. Nothing used to satisfy me, even after a long master fast. Unfortunately,
really?
I was not disciplined. Yes, it's harder to be disciplined on food than on the fast.
And I think that resonates with me.
I mean, it's I'm not trying to scare anybody, but honestly, like, you really want. You want to have a program where most of the days you're fasting. Whatever works for you, but just most of the days you want to be fasting. I like this one because I wash the food the next day. I do a colonic, I wash it. You can do a colima or a couple of enemas, right? And wash it off. And then I don't even think about food after colonic. My body does not want food after colonic. So I just drink the juice. Yes, I drink the juice and everything back to normal. So it's nice. It's a nice break. It doesn't feel good to eat like when you're fasting. You feel like, oh my God, I'm full. Even if you don't eat much, you're going to be more tired than when you're fasting. That's just normal. When you're eating, you'll be more tired than when you're fasting. But still, I'm happy with it because emotionally, it satisfies me more than being fasting for the rest of my life at this point. And yeah, the most important thing is, like you were told, meditate. Meditate on whatever, if you want to eat, often, a couple of days a week. Meditate if you have cravings. Meditate and be gentle with yourself. Observe, always observe. If you fall part of it, there's a reason why you fell. And I always say that when you fall, it just means that you need more love and gentleness.
Right. Actually, Rena, that just triggered one more thought for me as far as meditation that I wanted to bring up. The other thing Master Fast has taught me is what meditation really is. And for me, I used to use meditation like eating or any other thing. It was kind of weird. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm tired of the kids yelling at me and dealing with work and all this stuff. So I'd hole myself up into a room and I'm going to have my peaceful time now. Okay. Kind of like what my mom used to do in the bathtub with her Calgon and bubbles and all this stuff, But the funny thing is when I meditated like this, as soon as I left my room, I was trigger happy. The slightest thing happened to me. Oh my God, why do you have to break my peaceful state? I just spent 30 minutes getting myself calmed down and now you guys are working me all up, right? Now I have a different feeling for meditation in general, and that's you meditate so that when you do go out and you encounter all your triggers, you can just embrace whatever comes. I'm really working hard now on if somebody wants to be a hot mess, I don't have to be. It just because you want to freak out, I don't have to.
What I love about also when I fast, you observe yourself. If you feel negative for a whole day and you observe yourself, like I did feel this way maybe this week, right? Earlier in the week.
Yeah.
And I was working and I was just feeling, my God, why am I complaining? About like not important things. And I say to myself, okay, you're negative. So I'm observing myself and I say to myself, let's not be negative. Let's not think negative. But then I'm still thinking because I'm thinking not to think,
Right.
It didn't work. So until I slept and then I woke up and I was like, okay, I think now I'm ready to not even trigger these thoughts, these negative, So it's really, you want to observe. It's good. It's happening for a reason for you to observe them and let them go, right? It's okay.
Right.
Negative.
Yeah.
You were saying something about the dry fast, that it was kind of hard and it dehydrated you. How long were you doing them? This is not too long ago, right? A few weeks ago?
I was doing them within the recommended window.
So 1 day a week?
So 1 to 2 days a week, yeah. I pushed it one time at the season where I wanted to go 5, but it literally kicked my butt. I was happy just to go through 3.
Yeah.
But what I didn't recognize is when I did that 3-day fast, something happened, when I say something happened, it was a change that I just didn't realize. That's when I started going down to less than a liter of liquid a day. And I wasn't craving liquid. I wasn't craving anything. And I heard that if you're not craving it, just leave it alone. So I was like, okay, this must be a natural part of the fast. It was kind of like a lobster being boiled in water. It's true. You shouldn't push yourself, to drink a certain amount of juice, but sometimes you do need a certain amount of juice and you just need to drink it if you feel like it or not. And it's hard to know when that is, to be honest.
This is where the experience, it's like, it's an art. You get to feel.
Right.
You observe yourself, and then the next
Right.
say, okay, well, yesterday I had cravings, or I was feeling weak. I know I didn't drink enough. So the next day you make an effort to drink more.
But see, the thing is that was now for me with the sign is also the psyllium pudding or the plasma pudding, that became really hard to take too. Mm-hmm. And so I guess that was, at least for me, that was my sign. If your digestive tract starts to completely shut down, this should be your sign, because when you do that, things are going to back up. And if you think, now that I actually think about it, it makes sense. What's going to be the next thing? If my bowels stop, of course my gut is going to start dry heaving. There's nowhere for that stuff to go.
Yeah, we should lay it out in the protocol. When things start, you start heaving, you start, things feel stuck, 3 liters that day for the next few days.
Right. And there's no disgrace in that. Like, there's no honor code of, oh, if I drink more than a liter, I'm not doing the healing process,
Yeah.
Especially your first fast. I mean, if it was up to me, I would just say drink 3 liters a day. If you drank 3 liters a day, I'm sure you'd be surprised at how much healing you would still do on 3 liters a day.
Yeah, because we still have the dry fasting in schedule.
I mean, a lot. So, and I know I think it's common for us, right? We think because I read and the ego grabbed a hold of this, it was like, the less liquid you take, the more intense the fast. And I was like,
it is.
Yes, I want more intensity, No, you don't always need intensity.
No, yeah, it's not that, we want to, I don't know, everybody's at a different place and toxicity and this and that. Yeah.
Right.
You start digging, man. You're stirring up that deep crap from 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. A lot of stuff's going to come up. And how do we convey that message to this, infinite amount of different personalities and emotions and structures? And
it's hard. What you're doing is hard. I mean, whenever you write a process document, and I know this from experience, you'll write it and it makes complete sense to you. And then 5 other people will read it and they're like, but you said this, so I thought I could do this. And in my mind, I'm like, how in the heck did you get that out of this points? But then they start breaking it down for you and you're like, oh, I guess I could see how you might take it that way.
Yeah.
It's hard.
That's
hard.
That's why we made so many changes in the last year and a half. Trying to, whatever things coming up, there's something wrong. So people are getting a misunderstanding. It's not an easy task. But
it's fun.
It is.
It's a challenge. So, me with my English is, yeah. Randa's doing a lot of editing now, so we hopefully be clear, because it's a learning process for all of us. That's why we highly respect people who share. This is what is going to make the system stronger. I'm just one experience. Look at from if I don't know if we have the original one from the first day till now and all the different updates. I just erase them because it's past. Because I like I say, it's a living entity. Master Fast. It's never going to stay stagnant. You know what I mean? We got to keep upgrading. It's never ending, the learning process. Mm-hmm. And it's a beautiful thing when everybody shares, especially, when somebody comes on a Zoom call like this and spills it all out. What exactly happened? Right now, what you just said with the heaving and this and that, for me, I understand it, but other people, they're not understanding the way I'm rated. So the way you've explained is going to help so many more people. Like I just have to help. I had to call this person because she was over the last week or two, she was complaining about certain things. And I says, I got to call her. Because there's something not clear to me what she's doing. And then, when after talking, well, yeah, you're backed up.
Right. And I think you bring out a good point, Gino. And maybe if people actually have made it this far into the YouTube video, especially if this is your first Master Fast, let me tell you what's hard to help, okay? When somebody just says, hey, I'm going through my dry fast and I'm feeling this. Okay, well, guess what? I don't know you from Adam. How have you been eating over the last little while? How clean has your diet been? Tell us about yourself. Like, tell us what's going on. How long have you been on the master fast? I mean, do you already have a weakness in this area? Like, oh, I already know my kidneys are shot and they're hurting like hell. That's different than someone who says, I'm on a dry fast and I'm having kidney pain. I mean, pains and things arise for different reasons. And if you're only going to tell us 2 or 3 sentences and want a good answer, we can't divine what's going on with you. So
it's a challenge.
It's okay to sit here and write a 5-paragraph post if that's what you need to do in order to explain your situation, so that we don't tell you one thing when you actually need to actually be doing another. But don't get me wrong. I mean, utilizing these tools are safe for the most part. There's always some risk in everything we do, but when we just don't know anything about you and then you're like, why am I feeling this way? That's a great question. I have no idea.
Yeah, well, this is what the page is there for. The page is not there to say, do I need to use tinctures, or can I do an enema on a dry fast? It's all in the protocol. The page is
right
to support people going through the process that they may not have a complete understanding because they've never fasted before, and even people that have done fasts, a lot of them that I've had interactions with, they don't have an understanding because they always go back to the old medical thinking of, something's missing. Something's missing. Folks, there's nothing missing. Nothing.
Yeah.
You're connected to all creation. And there's absolutely infinite abundance. There's nothing missing. Can't be. It's a facade if you believe there's something missing.
Right.
We're so far away from nature. Thank God for all the tools. Thank God for
the internet.
All the tools. Yeah, the internet's a wonderful tool.
Literally. Yep.
For us to know, to connect with so many people, for many people to learn about this, and it's just amazing, isn't it?
It is. I would agree. Yep.
Anybody
have
any questions? We've gone just over the 2-hour mark. Anybody wants to speak, or forever hold your peace?
Hi there.
Yeah, who's speaking?
My name is Kathy, and I am new to MasterFast. I actually had started dry fasting on my own, and found the group, got into the group, and saw the alarm, don't do it, you need your tinctures and all of that. So I was at day 4, but I stopped immediately because that laying down in your bed for 2 years, that really scared me. So right now I am waiting to get my tinctures and whatnot, but I'm tired of eating. Food doesn't, like the lady was just saying, I don't like eating. Food bores me. I never find what I really want, but I know that I should keep eating until I start the MasterFast system properly. So my question is, what should I be eating while I wait to start the MasterFast system?
Mainly just, mucusless, the Arnold Herod mucusless diet system. It's basically foods that don't bind you. Fruits, raw vegetables, lots of salads, lightly steamed greens if you like, baked root vegetables, more except potatoes. Beets would be great, the sweet potato, yam, carrots, stuff like that. Mucusless. Anything mucus forming is the worst. Is absolutely out of everything is dairy products, milks, cheeses, and eggs. Those are the worst.
Products, all animal products.
Yeah.
Meats.
Then the proteins, they're I put the grains way up there too. All grain products are very mucus forming, very binding. And then the proteins, even when you get into the vegetable kingdom, like nuts, seeds, and legumes, they're too much high in protein and fat, some of them.
Oils.
Oils are not foods. You can use oils externally if they're pure, but those are the foods we want to stay away from. So basically, fruits, veggies is the simple way to do it. Yeah, you get away from all the condiments, the salts. You know what I mean?
Okay, cool. And then because I read a lot of the information on set, and it talks about like true hydration, and I see when a lot of people send their eye pictures in, like you're saying, dehydrated at the cellular level. So eating these fruits and vegetables, is that how, from what I understood, that is what is going to give you that true cellular hydration that you need, so you don't necessarily have to drink water?
That's where we get our hydration, but in order to trigger the hydration, that's a process, and that doesn't happen overnight. The system will help change your state from a dehydrated state into a hydrated state slowly over time. Mm-hmm. And you know, it's going to the dry. Think about a sponge, squeeze it out, and then we bring fresh water in. Squeeze it out, bring fresh water. This is what we're doing for hydration. This is what the system is about. We're going back and forth in that style to allow hydration to happen. The trigger to start hydration is dry fasting. Okay. That's the trigger. Okay. And
so still drink water during this
time? No, I'm not talking about, I'm just using water as an analogy, but our water, our hydration will come from after the dry, we have going into the eating the fruits and the veggies in the raw state. When you cook things, you're stripping the information. It puts it into the water. So when you eat vegetables cooked, they don't give you hydration properly. But if you're making, for example, a herbal tea, and then you strain out the fiber and you're drinking the tea, you're getting all the information and the hydration. But straight water is not something we recommend ever.
Okay, good. That's really good, because I stopped drinking water, but I'm like, okay, I need to get the hydration from the fruits and the vegetables. So I just wanted to make sure that I understood it correctly, and had the right process in place before I got my tinctures.
Yeah, and your herbal teas, we use water for making that. We use them for enemas, for washing. That's what we use water for. But to drink straight water, not necessary when you follow the system and you eat properly. When people go back to cooked foods, especially if they're into the grain eatings and all that, and the adding salt, you're gonna get thirsty. You're gonna get thirsty, and you know, drinking water is just a cycle that spirals you further into dehydration. It's not gonna solve the problem. Most people are between 20 to 30% dehydrated at the cellular level. Most people, 99% of the population. So you can't change that overnight. It takes many years, a lot of hard work to put yourself in that state. So, you know, slow, steady finishes the race to transition into a hydrated state. Over the years, you'll get into a hydrated state. But, you know, going into a long master fast, your hydration will improve. For sure. We've had people measure it, and it improves. You can feel it. You stop getting thirsty. Your mouth is always full of saliva. It's a wonderful feeling. You know, you just don't get thirsty. But there's two ways for people to not get thirsty. One could be in an extreme dehydrated state, and one is a hydrated state. And you should have the common sense to know the difference.
Excellent. All right, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Gino, I think the only thing I would add to that, though, is, Kathy, it is still okay to do dry fasting if you are just eating mainly fruits and stuff. That would be a great thing to continue on, because that habit will help you through the master fast.
Okay, good, because honestly, I don't like to cook, so cooking vegetables is not a problem for me. But I stopped the dry, and I was 4 days in, and I said, no, I might damage myself. I can't be bedridden for 2 years like Gino. So I stopped, but really, and so I'm eating now, but really and truly, I don't feel like eating. I don't want to.
Yeah, Gino, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're dry fasting and eating solid food, the chances of damaging yourself is a lot less. So like if you do a dry fast and then you break it with a juice or whatever you do, and then you go back to eating some food and then you dry fast again, I think the chances of you damaging yourself are pretty low.
Yeah, as long as you're following the basic principles, you know, clear the bowels before and after the dries, the way we explain.
Yeah.
It's, you know, we have it all laid out. It makes it much, much safer and more effective.
And the bubbly drink. The bubbly drink also, I would still break your dry fast with a bubbly drink.
Yeah, 24 hours or longer.
It's
fantastic. This was great.
Yeah.
Because I cleansed my bowels before, made sure that I was clean. Then I started to dry fast, got to day 4, read the MFS stuff, said, oh boy, I'm going to get in trouble. Stopped it and went back to eating. But if I can keep my dry fasting going, and, you know, okay, good.
Dry fasting for life. Never ever stop.
and practice the daily intermittent fasting, you know, define a window of a period of time where you eat and a period of time where you don't. I mean, that will get the basic structure in place for you. So when you hit your master fast, it will just be like, oh, okay, now I'm just going to replace the food with the tinctures and the juice.
Perfect.
Yeah. I would avoid over dry fasting on the master fast.
Yeah. Follow the schedule.
Okay.
When you're in master fast, don't go more than what we recommend. Always start on the low end because you're going to really be digging on the fast with the juice and so on and herbs. And we you know, the daily we have a window start on the lower end. The weekly we have a window start on the low end. And the monthly we have that 3 days, and we try and go to the 3 days. But don't go beyond those times when you're in the master fast. Everybody who tried wanted to be a hero. They crashed, and they're gone. We don't hear from them anymore.
Right. Okay. Sounds good.
Because there's no reason. There's no reason. The first 108 days, we're just opening the door, folks. Even though we see miracles happening in 108 days, literally, it's just the door opening. Okay. What's going to happen in 2, 3, 4, 5 years? Then you're going to really see the magic happen. We can't recognize some people in just 108 days, you know, or the second master fast. Can you imagine 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 master fasts? What's going to happen? This is the key, folks. You got to make it part of your life. You got to leave the old you behind. Eating every day, it's a corporate marketing scam to humanity. We chose it. We've accepted it. You know, we go to school. It's lunchtime. You have your breaks. It's programmed. We go to work. You have your lunch. It's programmed in our society. You have to break away from that. You have to set the new standard for yourself to eat when you're hungry and have your fasting days every week. Simple. It's going to be a challenge living in society, but there's always a way to find a structure.
Find your balance. Once you start this longer fast, master fast, you will understand.
Yeah, I used to do my dry fast at the start, always on the weekends, and every time I would go out, it would be on the weekends, and I'd be dry fast, and then after, I don't know, 6, 7 months, I said, you know what, I think I'm going to do it during the week. And I did it during the week. When you're busy, it's easier. Much easier. And in the weekends, you know, you don't have to worry. You don't have pressure from peer pressure and social pressure. So you find a way to make it work. If it's not working, look at it, analyze it, make it work for you. There's always a way to make it work. I'm just giving you my example.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anybody else, or are we going to call it a close? All right. So we thank you so much, Scott, for your time.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
Oh, you're welcome.
That's going to help a lot of people, the new insights that you've given. I can't think of everything and possibility. And this is with a beauty that when people share their stories, it just opens the door for so many more that I can't get through on my own. It's just common sense. And the more people share, the more we learn, the stronger the system will be. The system's already very sound, and everything is in there. But to make it to have an understanding for more people is what we're lacking, and this is the key. The sharing is the key. So, brother,
All right.
Stay focused.
I am, man.
No.
My intention keeps getting stronger.
Exactly. When the eating part, whatever, just go with it, let it flow.
Yeah, feel it. Don't worry.
Feel it,
Yeah. Observe it and do something, whatever makes it comfortable.
Keeping busy is a good
adapting.
thing.
Keep adapting until you find your balance.
Keep yourself.
Okay.
And we got the other page for the support where we're gonna need more and more support on that other page.
Yeah.
We're gonna need more structure on the after because so many people have challenges coming off the fast, and they believe that they can go back to their old lifestyle, eating 7 days a week. Ain't gonna work, folks. You got to leave the old you behind. The body's completely way more sensitive and way more efficient, and that understanding needs to happen because we don't need to eat every day. It's that simple. And people that listen, they're doing great. People that try to go back, they have challenges, and then they blame the system.
Yeah. Post pictures of what you have, to keep you excited and keep us excited, and it's really fun, of what you're eating, what you're preparing. It's beautiful.
Yeah. All the cherries. This is my meal today. Cherries coming up, Scott.
I know. I love them. I love cherries. Yeah, cherries are one of my favorite, man.
If you can go on nuts on cherries.
I think sometimes, Gino, we're brothers from different mothers. That's all.
Like we have a cherry tree in my parents' old house where I grew up. It's the white cherry. And I just go there and pick out one there, and they're just like literally pick out, and they're great bowel movers.
Oh,
yeah.
I like the black ones better, but whatever. As long as they're cherries, I love them.
Yeah, if you need to move stuff, that's one thing I really liked about that tart cherry juice. Man, that stuff, that will clean you out, and it's good. If you're stuck, just drink a few quarts of that stuff. You'll be having no problems. Yeah, cherries or the black cherries, the tart cherries, or even prune juice, folks. We have it in the protocol. Some people, they try to do the massive fast on one of the cherries, and they just can't. It moves the bowels very strongly for some people. For me, the juice, I was able to do it a few days. It was a little stronger than the grape, but it depends. Everybody's different.
I did it. I think many people who have done it would say it's too much. It's way too much. If you're working, I think, and I said no way. That's it. Gas and then diarrhea, and it's just too much.
It's intense. Yeah, it can be intense.
Yeah. All right, brother.
All right, you guys.
Thank you
so much. Call it a night, and we'll see you on the board.
Okay, we'll see you guys later. Much love and light to all.
Good night, everybody.
All right, bye.